They come from another time. A machine wrapped in flesh. A soldier from a distant war. Both after a woman who holds the key to the future. One wants to kill her. The other must protect her.
I'm here to help you. You've been targeted for termination.
The Terminator. Your future is in his hands. The Terminator. Rated R. Now playing at a theater near you.
Hey there, and welcome to Vassals of Kingsgrave. In this episode, we'll be giving an audio commentary for the 1984 sci-fi classic, The Terminator. Directed by James Cameron and starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, and Michael Biehn. My name is Duncan, or Valkyrist on the forums, and with me is...
Hi there, I am Glenn. I am Douglas Rivers from the forums.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me, Glenn. I believe this is your second time recording an audio commentary for the podcast?
Yes, that's right. So the first one was Planet of the Apes, and I did that with East Texas Direwolf from the forums.
Awesome. So we've got a little series going now. Hopefully we can do some more in the future.
Yep, we can do some more. I am planning to do one for a Christmas movie.
Around
right. The end of December.
Yeah, I think I saw the thread for that. So yeah, everyone go check out that one. I guess we should explain to listeners that unlike a regular episode of the podcast where we sort of discuss a movie or a series, this episode is meant to be played while you're actually watching The Terminator, and it will provide sort of running commentary on the film's plot and production designs and themes, or just whatever observations we sort of pick up on. So I'm assuming you're sort of a big fan of the movie?
Oh yes, big fan of the movie series in general, and I even like Terminator Salvation.
Oh wow, that's
loyal
cool.
fan.
I don't even consider the third and the fourth one as part of the series. I think they're actually okay movies, but I just feel like the second movie is such a great way to finish it. Like, it's such a cohesive story, and then they just sort of tacked on these other ones.
I don't actually like the third movie, but I did like the fourth movie.
Okay, sure. Okay, cool. So hopefully, I to provide some backstory, I adore this movie. It's like one of those first movies that I consider my favorite, and it's still definitely top 10, top 5 for me. So hopefully the commentary doesn't just evolve into me gushing over everything. I'll try to be a bit more academic in my commentary. Okay, so do we want to roll the film?
Yep, we can do a countdown just now. So
sure. Well, I was just gonna say that I've paused the movie at the Hemsdale Presents thing. Where have you sort of started from?
Okay, right. I'll press play just now.
It's 31 seconds in, so I just wanted everyone to be in sync.
Okay, I would say to the listeners, if you're watching the movie along with the podcast, then you would press play in 3, 2, 1, and I've pressed play.
Oh, okay, where are you starting? Wait, sorry.
This is just loading up. So it's the Terminator. Oh, Metro Goldwyn Mayer. That's where I am just now. When
the Hemsdale Presents flash is on, just tell me to press play, not press play. It's like white text on black screen.
Okay, I think this is the Orion Pictures screen. Orion Pictures release. Was it Hemsdale Presents?
Yeah, that's it. Hemsdale.
Okay, so I'm at that point.
Okay, cool. We're in sync. Awesome. Yeah. So everyone who's got their DVD or the audio file, make sure you're playing on at this point. So yeah, here we are, Los Angeles, 2029.
Yeah, 16 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this set design. It's so haunting and amazing, and it's like a hellscape almost, with the skulls lining the walls, and it's amazing. Yeah,
it is astounding.
It's such a great tone setter.
Have you ever watched any of the anthropology series, like the Twilight Zone, Tales from the Crypt, those types of series?
No, I haven't actually.
There is this one. It's from a TV show called The Outer Side.
Yes, I've got that in my notes. It's a movie
The Other
called
Side.
Soldier, yeah. Oh, The Other Side. Sorry. Well, there was a guy called Harlan Ellison who actually sued James Cameron for plagiarizing or potentially plagiarizing some of his episodes from The Outer Limits. Yeah.
That's it. The Outer Limits.
Outer Limits. Yeah.
Butchered the name. Yep, we can talk about that later then.
Sure. Yeah.
These are a very long credit sequences.
Yeah, you don't really
Lance
get
Henriksen
in modern movies.
So we can talk about casting. So it wasn't always going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator. Do you know who it was going to be before?
Well, they had a bunch
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
They had a bunch of possibilities. I think O.J. Simpson was a candidate at one point. Lance Henriksen was a candidate at one point. I think Lance Henriksen, who plays Detective, what's his name, Kovovich or something. He was in the running, and Cameron originally envisioned him as the Terminator and actually made up artwork with him as the Terminator because he had this sort of everyman feel that could sort of blend into a crowd and exit the crowd and kill someone and then fall back in. But he eventually sided with the sort of intimidating otherworldly presence of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And then, Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to be Kyle Reese, the hero of the story.
That's right. Yeah, he originally auditioned for Kyle Reese, but I think Cameron just loved his presence for the villain, and he tried to and basically convinced Schwarzenegger, who was quite egotistical and wanted to be the big star of the Hollywood production, but he convinced him that this movie isn't about the heroes; it's about the Terminator. It's about the villain. That's the sort of focus of the film and what he represents. I love the score. I love this theme song. I think it just transcends the kind of... I mean, the whole film has this very dirty, grimy, grindhouse B film kind of vibe to it, but that music just kind of... It's so poetic and beautiful and transcendent.
That is actually something I was going to say, because this movie, I guess I would still class this as more of a cult classic, whereas Terminator 2, that's more of the mainstream movie.
That's right, yeah. When people think of Terminator, they think of the action second one. They don't think of this very horror-driven original.
And I don't think a lot of people have watched the Terminator, because when I was growing up, I must have watched Terminator 2 about 10 times or so. And I've seen it on things like Paramount Channel, the Comedy Central. I've seen it on Channel 5 in the UK and all of these other TV channels, but I had to buy the DVD before I could watch this movie, The Terminator.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I think I watched it first when I was like really young, and I was just starting to get into movies, and I was going to the DVD store and trying to like seek out classic movies. So I rented the Terminator 1 and 2, and I loved them both. And I loved T2 as like an action movie. It's really exciting, kind of summer blockbuster feel. But there's something about the original that is so dark and lean, and there's just something here. Like I can recognize some of the acting and some of the writing's a bit cheesy, but there's something really
it's a classic.
about it.
It's a typical 80s movie. It just screams 80s when you look at what everyone is wearing and
80s, exactly, definitely, yeah. Oh, look at that shot. That's amazing. A naked man approaching the city, gazing over it.
And
the punks.
Sort of, you know how in Pixar movies they have the one actor, Jeff Ratzenberger. I think I've got that name right. Who voices a character in each of the Pixar movies, sort of like a good luck charm.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So Bill Paxton seems to be James Cameron's good luck charm.
Right, which one is
he's one of the 3 gang members. The one.
He's the spiky one. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah. Yeah, he's in.
He was in Titanic. I think he was in The Abyss.
Okay, I haven't seen The Abyss.
Maybe
it's the only one I haven't seen. I like how he's got like tire marks across his face.
I'm going to say that his clothes wouldn't fit Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's right, yeah. Although I think it's the other guy that he gets the clothes off. I like how he sort of arrives in this world and he immediately starts to camouflage himself as a human. So he goes up to the punks and he starts repeating their lines and trying to learn how humans communicate. Then he grabs their clothes and dresses himself in it. So he's not like a soldier, he's an assassin. He's trying to blend into this world rather than sort of attack it. This movie is so dark and dirty and oppressive. It's like the LA streets are just, they feel dystopic at this point, even though it's set in the 80s. They feel like they're not as far away from the opening shots we get as we'd like to think. And the far less graceless entrance of the human. Actually, I don't know if you've ever read the original script treatment from like 1982. You can find it on the special edition DVD, but originally there was actually supposed to be two human soldiers who came through to protect Sarah, but one of them actually materialized in a fire escape and basically died inside a girder or a wall or something. They didn't include it, obviously, but it's kind of an interesting thing you don't think about when you think of teleportation or time travel. What if you appear inside a wall or something? Won't you die immediately?
I'm glad they took that out of the script.
Yeah, that would have been horrifying. It also brings up one of the things I don't think any time travel movie has considered, which is like none of them seem to take into account like the orbit or the rotation of the Earth. Like they all just appear in Earth, but if you went forward in time, you're not moving through space, you're moving through time. You'll just materialize in space because the Earth has moved on without you.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
Like unless they have some kind of teleportation component to the time machine and they can input like specific coordinates or something. I don't know if that's taken into account. They don't really go into it, but a film like Back to the Future, obviously, where they'll rush through. I mean, it's an awesome like visual effect, but it doesn't make any sense because they'll drive really fast and then they'll appear. Like time will shift around them, but they'll appear in the exact same spot. But that wouldn't make sense. They'd be in outer space somewhere. Anyway, I'm nitpicking. I've got to suspend my disbelief.
But yep, I think that I did look at the special edition feature, which did have the script, some of the main comments about the script, and I remember now the fact that it was going to be two people sent back, but yeah, I prefer just one on one.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Yeah. It's very sort of dualistic rivalry between the human and the machine. It's much more
very David versus Goliath.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, do you think that the police are chasing him because he's naked, indecent exposure?
Yeah, I guess so. Well, they say stop and then he runs, so I guess they have to chase him.
Oh yeah, good point.
I don't know. Well, he's just sort of harassing a homeless person. I guess that's a crime.
Yeah, I was thinking the other one could be the other reason because he just robbed a tramp.
Yeah. And it's cool how you have this parallel between the Terminator and the human. They both have to go through all these stages of assimilating into this world. They have to get clothes, and then they have to get their weapons, and then they have to sort of merge into the crowd and find their target. It's a cool parallel because it's kind of a race against the clock. They're racing against each other to find Sarah. The music's so creepy. It's great. One thing I do notice about the Terminator series is a great example, is how, when you look at 80s films, how dark and sort of oppressive they feel at times. And I'm wondering if it's kind of the feelings of tension and anxiety over the Cold War and the threat of nuclear attacks and things like that, which is definitely expressed in the film's script. But then you cross over to the 90s films, like Terminator 2, and it's so colourful. Everything's so colourful and hopeful. And you've got all the scenes are set in daytime and with these big wide open spaces. But I definitely like the 80s aesthetic more. It's very dystopic and connects really well to the future sort of flashbacks we get, or the flash forwards, I guess you'd call them.
Yep, I see what you mean. That is, and then half the movie is set during the day until towards the end of Terminator 2, where it's set during nighttime.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the sort of climax of Terminator 2 is at nighttime. Yeah.
So, Linda Hamilton is our Game of Thrones connection, I guess,
Is she?
because let's see. So, A Game of Thrones, which is based on A Song of Ice and Fire, written by George R. R. Martin, who also wrote
Oh,
the
yeah.
screenplay for Beauty and the Beast,
Right, yeah.
which was also starring Linda Hamilton.
Mm. And who's the other guy? That guy from Sons of Anarchy. I can't remember his name. He plays Clay.
Roger Treese?
No, Sons of Anarchy.
Just because he was also in Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, was he? Okay, I haven't seen the show, but I just know the two lead. That Linda is one of them. It's great how colourful these scenes seem rather. Sorry, I can't talk. And now you have the very colourful and idyllic suburbia and this very dark presence kind of transgressing on it. It's great use of colour. This was actually the final shot of the whole movie production, and they didn't have permits to actually film it. Cameron just sort of blocked off either end of a street and told Arnie to go punch into that car and like drive it away. Obviously they own the car, but it wasn't any permits for it. And he didn't have protection or anything. It's just a sort of guerrilla recording.
That's always been my big fear about being a waiter. Just seeing this scene and like, what if you just mess up the order and then take it to the wrong table?
And one mistake builds on the next, and it's just like a snowball. Yeah, well, I was a waiter for a couple of years, but I thankfully never encountered this. Little kids putting ice cream in my shots.
No, they didn't do that. Then Arnold just walks into a gun store.
Yeah, can I have 5 guns? Yeah, sure, here you go.
A bunch of guns. And then...
Yeah, I love how the guy sort of raises his eyebrow after a moment, like, a sale is a sale. This is Dennis Miller, who's a really famous character actor. He appears in like hundreds of movies, but he only has a couple of lines usually. But he was in Gremlins movies and what else? Piranha, Little Shop of Horrors, The Burbs. He's even in a deleted scene of Pulp Fiction because Tarantino was such a fan of him. This the laser sighter, the 45 longside laser sighter that we see him pick up in the film is apparently built for the film by the Laser Products Corporation. Oh, because laser aim weaponry was like only just invented at this point, and they required these huge batteries to actually power the laser, and so you see that design in the movie, but Arnie actually has the battery sort of down his sleeve, so it's doing lots of those little tricks. So yeah, we see them both sort of armor up and collect their weapons. So they're going through these different stages of their mission. But Arnie's obviously slightly ahead of Reese because he's a machine. Actually, it's interesting that Arnie gets... oh, sorry.
I always wondered if the first Sarah Connor had just said, no, I'm not Sarah Connor, if he would just leave.
Yeah, I don't know. He probably wouldn't. I love how the truck gets run over, and then at the end of the film, or towards the end of the film, Arnie gets run over by a giant truck.
Oh yeah, that's a nice little parallel.
Yeah. I mean, this film, even though it doesn't seem like it does have this exploitational B-grade feel to it. It has like all these really clever, complex things going on in it. Especially relating to technology and our dependence on them. this fear that they'll turn against us. I wouldn't admit to my identity if that guy turned up on my door. So cold and efficient, he just reaches, pulls the gun across his waist, empties the clip.
I'm just writing just now on IMDb. Mel Gibson turned down the role of the Terminator.
Yep, that's right, yeah. Yeah, I got a bunch of trivia from IMDb, so I might mention all those as we go, yeah.
It has been a long time since I've read the trivia for IMDb.
Ginger's a sassy friend. I love how it juxtaposes those big earth-moving vehicles. You can sort of see the comparison between the vehicles we see at the beginning of the big giant hunter-killer machines we see at the beginning of the movie, and how, I don't know how many more steps of production we're going to have before we reach the bad type of machine. And Reese has like sort of these numb flashbacks to the war when he sees them. Ugh, that's so amazing.
Yep, these futuristic scenes are amazing.
They're just mind blowing. And what's great is we only get these flashes on. We don't have this cohesive narrative of how it all unfolds. We just get these flashes of what was happening. It makes it so much more powerful because it alludes to something so much bigger than the movie portrays. But it's really effective. That's kind of what bugged me about Salvation in a way, because it tells the whole story of the war. But like, I don't find that interesting, like, because that's just a war movie. Whereas this is, I don't know, provides it more as a background to the actual conflict of the story. And it's so much more effective when you just see these flashes of it.
I think most of the budget was spent on these scenes.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe. I mean, do you know how much the movie cost? It was like surprisingly low.
Well, I guess it's about $6 million. $6 million.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, obviously this is all models and things like that, but still, and it does have it does kind of look fake, but I still think, I don't know, it works.
No, the only thing that I find fake is later in the movie when Arnold goes through the there's a point where Kyle Reese and Sarah escape from the Terminator, and he has to remove his makeup, his mask, and puts it back on again. That's the thing that I find fake.
Yeah, they use an animatronic Arnold Schwarzenegger model for that scene. Yeah, it is very noticeable, but I don't know. To me, it almost makes it cooler because it's such an obviously creepy, fake human being. Like, it actually adds to that texture of, this is not a person. There is this machine beneath this thin layer of rotting skin. It's like such a creepy moment, and that's the thing you forget about the original Terminator, is how scary and horrifying it is, and how much it uses like body horror and things like that, compared to the sequel, which is a really great action movie, but it feels so much more tamer and sort of Disney-fied compared to this.
I was listening to it was a review of Friday the 13th on another podcast, and they were talking about how it feels more like a murder mystery, which is surprising because now it's known as just the slasher flick starring Jason, but back when marketing for the first movie, it was marketed as a mystery, a murder mystery.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I think you can see a lot of those tropes. I mean, Cameron's deliberately using a lot of those slasher tropes in the first half of this movie. And if you've watched the trailer for the movie, it actually plays on that. It's like, who is stalking Sarah Connor? Who is this man? and then the rug gets completely pulled, and you even have the kind of mystery police procedural thing in the first half with the two detectives, or the lieutenant and the detective, but then the rug gets pulled out completely from you when the police station gets massacred. So it's great that they bring up all these tropes and then completely undermine them. I mean, obviously, it's not a serial killer of a slasher movie because you see, you see the flashbacks to the war, but they kind of suggest that maybe Reese is crazy, but there's probably too much evidence at the beginning of the movie and the things you see Arnie do to sort of write off Reese the way that the detectives and the psychiatrists do.
They never seem to go with that angle of the person that you think is crazy is actually crazy.
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah, they sort of strike a nice balance. I mean, you still believe Reese, but I think it works with how the police would respond to it and how Sarah would respond to the situation. Because I would get annoyed if she immediately believed him straight off the bat, because she seems to while she's in the car, and then she says, "No, he must be crazy. He must be crazy." And then she sees what the Terminator can do, and she's with him the whole way. So I like how the exposition is staggered out more like that.
Sarah has a pet iguana.
Yeah.
What an unusual pet to have.
That is the most 80s haircut I've ever seen.
Ginger?
Ginger, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like whenever you see photos from the 80s, that's what the models will look like. Ginger's kind of like the going off the slasher analogy. She's like the more promiscuous girl, so she gets killed first for having sex.
Oh, good point. Well, in fact, her boyfriend gets killed first.
Right. Yeah. This is actually James Cameron doing the recording, and he later went on to marry and then divorce Linda Hamilton. Yeah, I wonder if the iguana represents something. That's totally a slasher trope, the fake scare.
Oh, that's right. She doesn't find out about the second Sarah Connor until she's in the restaurant eating a pizza.
Right, yeah. She gets uneasy. Yeah, the movie builds
She
that
lucked out though
tension.
being listed third on the list.
Sorry?
She lucked out being third in the phone book.
Right, that's right. Yeah. She can thank her middle name. Her parents are in whatever middle name they gave her.
That's true.
In the another little factoid from the original script. In the original script, they sort of have the Skynet and Reese have these two identifying marks for how to find Sarah Connor. They know the city she lives in and they know her name. But in the original script, there was another identifying mark, which was some pins that she had in her leg from like a skating accident. So it actually showed the Terminator like cutting open each woman's leg to sort of poke around for these pins. But in like true sort of time paradox style, it's revealed that the pins are actually in there from when the Terminator blows up and she gets a chunk of shrapnel in her leg. So he actually causes the wound that he's been sort of trying to find. But yeah, I think they probably cut that out because one, it's too gross, and two, you don't need another time paradox to add to the pantheon. The answering machine's a cool touch. It's showing the way people are mediating more and more of their like life through machines and things. And she's obviously listening to music as she's having sex. Like we're becoming more and more dependent, and we use machines as a luxury. But at a point, what if the fear is, what if they start to turn on us? Or what if they're taken away? How will we survive? Sorry.
This scene always angers me because she just leaves her dinner. She doesn't finish it.
Who, Ginger?
And it's a full pizza.
Ginger? Oh, hang on. Where are you at?
Oh no, I'm talking. Oh, we might still be out of sync. So I'm at the part where Sarah is in the restaurant and she finds out about the second Sarah Connor. So then she phones the police or tries to phone the police.
Oh, we're way out of sync. Hang on. She's just started eating.
I'll just pause the movie for a few seconds.
Okay, sure. So she's noticed the TV. She says, "Don't touch the channel."
Don't touch the channel. Yep. This seemed to happen for the Planet of the Apes movie too, because we were in sync at the beginning, but then at one point, I was at the "Get your hands off me, you damn dirty ape" part, and he was back a few minutes before.
How is that possible though? Because it's
sometimes
it's like Skype. Even if Skype was lagging, like that wouldn't account for. Because I'm just watching it on the TV, so it wouldn't account for alterations in time from across the world, unless.
I guess sometimes it could be. I could have a DVD, which is the UK edition, which cuts a few minutes.
Oh, okay.
You could have a DVD which is the US edition.
Right.
And
yeah.
You could have in total it could be 2 hours, and mine could be 1 hour and 58 minutes.
There are I mean, do you have the special edition DVD? Because they have deleted scenes on the second disc, which are really great.
I think mine is the 20th edition. Special edition, 20-year special edition.
Does it have 2 discs?
Yes.
Okay, because the second disc has all these deleted scenes, which are actually really worth watching. Like, they weren't cut out because they're bad. They're just kind of not necessary for the plot. But there's actually a great plot where they actually decide to find Cyberdyne and blow it up. And that's actually, I mean, I'll talk more about it when we get to that scene. But that's kind of why they're making the explosives. But it's sort of cut out of it.
I'm sure I have seen that. All of the deleted scenes, including that one.
Right, yeah. Well, you can watch them on YouTube, so I guess we can just link to that in the show note in case anyone's interested, because they're really good. And they add sort of more plot to the police investigation. The 2 guys, the lieutenant and the detective. Tech noir. That's a good name for this genre. Super mullet dancing away.
What an awful place to try and phone the police.
Yeah. She's picked the worst location to communicate.
In a nightclub with the music blaring.
Yeah, I guess she wants to sort of evade the guy that's following her, sort of disappear.
I did actually learn that when movies or TV shows attempt to film scenes in clubs, they do this thing where they stop the music and they have to pretend they're still listening to the music.
Right,
and, shout loudly.
That makes sense because, you wouldn't be able to hear it.
Yeah, of course. But, so that was a new fact for me. Then once they've filmed that, they then do a second take where they have the music playing and the actors try and pretend they're speaking.
Oh, okay, yeah. But it makes sense because you wouldn't be able to talk in a club and hear anyone. Now Ginger's making the biggest sandwich ever.
Despite the fact that she's playing music, I'm sure I would still hear, someone screaming and getting butchered with a knife.
Yeah. She must like her music really loud. What's this guy's name? Is it Brad?
I think it's Matt.
Oh, Matt. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, he actually does quite well against the Terminator. He gets him off his feet. Ginger's pouring milk. Is that what you've got? It doesn't matter. Oh, the sandwich. Music's so creepy. It's like The Shining or something. It's weird how he doesn't go to the front door like he did with the other Sarah Connor. He comes in through the bedroom
That's a good point.
and he doesn't check who she
Maybe,
is.
well, I think maybe that's just the way it's filmed. It doesn't really show you a scene where he actually did try and
Right.
call
Yeah.
it the door, because they're in the middle of sex. They're
That's
just going
true,
to ignore
yeah.
it anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I like how the answering machine is now betraying Sarah to the cyborg.
Now he has a picture of Sarah.
Not yet. No, he's looking through the phone book. Now he's looking at the picture. So maybe pause it for a couple more seconds or something.
I would be freaked out too if I was her. If I just seen some guy that was following me everywhere I went.
Yeah. But it's sort of, it's more that she's freaked out because she knows that two murders happened. Like, it's because she looks at a couple of different guys who sort of suddenly appear sinister. But it's like, you know, is she imagining this? Is she paranoid? Or is someone really after her? This whole scene is awesome. I love the music and how Arnie's just stalking through the crowd like a predator. Just he locks in on his prey.
It's my favourite action sequence ever.
Yeah. He just crushes
so minimal,
the guy's hand.
but...
Yeah. Sorry?
Yeah, but it's so minimal, but it just works in so many levels.
Mm.
Because it doesn't have the budget of the second movie, but it just does so much more, because it's so much more dark and suspenseful.
Right, yeah. Well, that's the thing, yeah, it shows suspense is, money doesn't make suspense. Suspense is like all about the writing and the cinematography. I love how he's just like a wolf moving through the sheep and no one notices him. And she's terrified of Reese, but she doesn't see the T-800.
This is one of my pet peeves about movies. So
What?
he's got the laser trained on Sarah, and he waits for the longest time. Instead of just shooting instantly, he
Well,
waits
it's sort of
so
slow
long.
motion, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of slow motion.
I know.
Okay, yeah, you're like way ahead of me. Okay, now he's pulling back. He's cocking the gun. Now he's aiming the laser. the shot where Reese sort of his second shot of the shotgun into Arnie is, or the T-800, is the only time Arnold Schwarzenegger and Michael Biehn appear in the same frame.
Okay.
The other sort of confrontation between the two at the end of the movie is like Arnie isn't there. That's just a metallic puppet. And the rest of the time they're just running away from him. That's so freaky. Like, she's trapped under a body and he's like walking up to her and loading his gun and he just aims at her. It's like, just such cold efficiency. He just said, "Come with me if you want to live." I don't know. You might want to pause it a bit if you're way ahead.
I can pause it for a few seconds. I'm close to that point.
Okay. Yeah. That line, "Come with me if you want to live," is like, it's kind of like "I'll be back." It's like one of those landmark lines for the series. Right. It's like used in every single movie.
It's just such a shame that people think that Arnold Schwarzenegger said it first.
Right, yeah. That's the thing, because Reese only appears in this movie, so people kind of forget him, but he's like a really cool character. Yeah, I can't believe this movie's only at $6 million or $8 million or whatever it is, because he just...
That's right.
They're doing some pretty cool stuff.
6.5 million.
6.5. Wow, that's amazing. That's just punch through the window screen. That's like so cool. It's this unstoppable machine. Apparently, that the arm smashing scene was used with a hydraulic arm, and Arnie like had to be there, sort of under his cloak, and they could only do it once because it's costs money to replace a windscreen, so it had to be like really carefully choreographed. But yeah, props to Cameron for managing $6 million because he's produced a pretty amazing, like, blockbuster movie.
It's amazing what fire can do to your hair.
To your hair?
Yeah, because he just jumps through the fire and then suddenly he has spiked hair.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's been slightly singed. Another thing that's really impressive about this movie is how it delivers this really complex story, this exposition that is like pretty dense. But it's done like during these sort of action sequences, this big car chase. So it sort of keeps the audience excited, but it also delivers these big sort of swabs of information. It's like really effective. It's something that like I think he didn't really understand in his like later movies, like Avatar, like where he just has the characters look at a sort of camera and explain what they're thinking, what they're feeling. But I think it's coded. This really complex sci-fi story is coded really well within this chase sequence, and then later in the interrogation sequence.
Which other trivia facts do you have from IMDb? I'm just looking at one right now, and it's the movie was released in the late 80s in Poland under the title "The Electronic Murderer."
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I always wonder about different movies, like what names they're given in different countries. Like it happens in Australia as well. Like you know that movie.
Any movies recently that have done that?
I'm trying to. Well, no, not big sort of blockbuster movies because it wouldn't make sense.
Okay.
We would know about them from American TV or whatever. But one example is you know that the Rock movie. I think it's called The Rundown in America.
Okay, The Rundown.
Yeah, it's called like Welcome to the Jungle in Australia. But it's more
okay.
It's more prevalent like as the further back you go because obviously now everything's so connected. So we know everything from the internet and all that. And we get American TV. But say in like the 80s and the 90s, there would be this more frequent sort of changing of the names. I don't know what the rationality behind it is, but maybe Australians were more like tested better if the movie was called Welcome to the Jungle than The Rundown. Um, but like it's probably more prevalent in sort of when it's translated to different languages. Another example is the Mad Max series. When it was sent to America, it was called The Road Warrior. Apparently, these car chase sequences were sped up on film to make them seem more chaotic and exciting. And they would have sort of cars on either side of the camera, spinning these flashing lights, and the sort of reflection on the car made it look really sort of fast paced and exciting. So I'm ruining all the movie magic with the film.
That's our job as audio commentaries to ruin the music, ruin the movie magic. Well, in fact, I was thinking about. I forgot to mention this at the start. There is an audio commentary on the DVD, but it's more like, but it's not a real audio commentary because I think it's just extracts from interviews that the actors have made in the past.
I hate that, yeah.
Which is actually similar to Planet of the Apes because they have, they have free audio commentaries. One is good. It's the producers of the movie or someone involved in behind the scenes, but there is a cast commentary. But that is just various interviews that the cast have done.
Right.
And
yeah.
It's weird because you can watch the movie and you're watching about 10 minutes, then suddenly you hear, let's see, yep, you hear Roddy McDowall talking about the movie. Then after he's talked for about 2 minutes, he stops. Then you have to wait another 10 minutes before you hear another actor describe certain aspects of the movie.
Right, yeah, I've encountered that before. That's annoying because like you want them to talk about the particular scenes and things like that. Although I kind of find when you're for audio commentaries, like the best ones are usually when it's like the writer or the director because they'll actually talk about the story and the characters and the production. But when it's actors, it's a lot of sort of gushing over how talented everyone is.
Okay, yep, I guess I prefer the cast commentaries.
Right, yeah. I suppose if it's like sort of you can tell sort of funny stories about the set and all.
That's right. I have been watching a TV show called Monkey Dust. This is a UK TV series, and I just noticed on the DVD that there was a cast commentary, so I was watching that a few days ago. But I guess the best ones are the ones where you're watching it, trying to watch it and pay attention to the story, but then the cast commentary says something funny, some anecdote about the story or how it was written, and then you have to rewind again because you weren't really paying attention to what they were saying.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't write off all cast commentaries. It was just like the couple that I've seen they've been it just seems like they spend a lot of time sort of gushing over how talented everyone is because their kind of career depends on, getting their next job. But I kind of like my sort of, when I think back to my favorite commentaries, it's just often the writer and the director because they actually talk about the story structure and all that.
And things like outtakes, what was cut from the movie. I like hearing about that.
Yeah. I love sort of learning about like sort of first drafts of scripts and learning about things they thought about doing, but then they sort of cut it off, like, sort of branching off into these other stories. Like the original sort of Star Wars scripts are really fascinating to think about what was originally on Lucas's mind and what areas he was originally going to pursue. I mean, in the original Star Wars scripts, there was a lot more sort of magical qualities to it. Sorry, we should talk more about the Terminator. So yeah, we're just learning all about the war and Skynet and why she's being targeted. As I said, yeah, like I love how the story itself is really fascinating because I'm just like I just sort of love that sci-fi themes and all that, but it's actually delivered really efficiently as well.
It is strange when you do watch a movie which everyone knows about now, like the Terminator, but then in the original trailer they wouldn't have this sort of information about how Kel Reese is really from the future, etc. And it seems strange watching the original trailers for them.
Right, yeah, yeah. Well, that's kind of what they played off, the sort of mystery, like who are these people? Which I think worked well because it obviously, I mean, it was a huge hit, so that kind of mystery element worked well. Sorry, folks, we've gone silent. We're just enjoying the movie at the moment.
That's okay.
I mean, I can sort of talk a bit about the universe. Sort of, if anyone's interested in, hang on, I'll go down.
Well, one thing that I find annoying in the second movie is all the mistakes that they make concerning
Right, okay.
John's age.
Is it the second movie? Yeah, okay.
The second movie, because in fact, they make a lot of mistakes in all of this, the rest of the movies.
Yeah, but as I said, I don't count 3 and 4 because I just think Terminator 2 ends so well. So they're really good fan fiction.
But in the second movie, there is this point where John is saying all throughout the movie that he is 10 years old, but then he was born in 1995, and we are to believe this is 1994 that the movie takes place.
Or he was born in 1985.
Yep, he was born in March 1985, I think.
Okay, and so does that mean Terminator 2 is set in the future, like 1995, as opposed to when it was released, which is 91?
I'm sure it's 1994. Yep, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, that's set during 1994, because they say at one point that Judgment Day is 3 years away.
Okay, so that makes sense, doesn't it? He's 10 years old? Or I guess he'd be 9, yeah. I don't know.
Almost 10, but really 9.
Maybe he's trying to act tough. So you can see the flashing against the cars of the lights that are just out of frame. Adds to the kind of chaotic nature of the chase.
I think the car chase at the end is great when you have Arnold on a motorbike.
Right, yeah. I mean, this is a bit more of a parallel chase, I guess. They're exchanging fire, but in the end, they're kind of being chased by him, and they're throwing stuff behind themselves. Whoa, headshot. And then the police arrive just in time to clean up the mess.
So, you were talking about the court case with Harlan Ellison.
Right, yeah. Allison is a science fiction writer who wrote for The Twilight Zone, and he's written sort of stories and novellas and things like that. And he watched The Terminator, and he said he loved it, but the second he got home, he rang his lawyer because he noticed a lot of similarities between The Terminator and a script he wrote for two TV shows he wrote for the Twilight Zone. One was called Soldier, and one was called The Demon's Glass Hand or something. And there's also a short story called I Have No Mouth, Yet I Must Scream. And there's a character in that called AM, which is this evil supercomputer which has taken over the world and basically torments the human characters. And he saw a lot of similarities to Skynet with that. And the TV's episode Soldier involves two soldiers basically from the future being transported back in time. with the sort of objective of killing each other.
You know, he does mention those scripts, and I guess there are parallels with the Terminator story, but I always thought that it was the biggest similarity was this other show from the Outer Limits. It was called The Man Who Was Never Born, and it's about. I'm not sure if he wrote the script for this episode or not, but it's still part of the Outer Limits series, and in that show, let's see, it's this man who is in this apocalypse. He's disfigured because of nuclear radiation, and the man that had caused that back in the 20th century, his name was, let's see, Bertram Cabot. Yep. So the man goes back in time to the 20th century, and he meets a girl, and they flirt a bit. Then she talks about her fiance, or someone she's going out with, who is actually Bertram Cabot. And then, in fact, I think that no, she is going out with him, but and they're to be engaged. So he thinks about killing her to make sure that she never has the child that causes the destruction of the human race.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that does sound similar. There's a lot of those time paradoxes that are very delicious to try and unpack and sort of infuriate yourself with. But yeah, I love time paradoxes and time travel and all the different theories you can come up with.
The one that I've never watched is the movie called 12 Monkeys.
Right, yeah, I've seen that. It was okay. It was alright. Looper has some quite interesting ideas as well. I mean, it's not a perfect movie, but it introduces the idea of the assassin from the future coming back to kill the mother of its enemy, or the child that would be his enemy. Again, I love the police interrogation and the police trying to figure out what's going on here and treat it very rationally and just assume he's crazy from the beginning. And then just to have the rug completely ripped out from under them. Like we sort of feel safe with the police, even though we don't want Reese to be locked up and whatever. We know that Linda's safe in the police building, or we assume it is, but then we have our assumptions just completely flipped over when the Terminator arrives. I also wanted to reference the scene that just passed, which is the scene where the T-800 is repairing himself. He cuts open his wrists and repairs takes out the shell that he received from Reese and repairs the wires underneath his skin. And it's such a cool image, and it alludes to this machine that is, the skin is just a coating. It's just a camouflage that wraps the actual mechanical form of the cyborg. Like so many, whenever you see robots and androids and cyborgs in TV shows, it's always this man dressed up as a metallic being. But here we have the opposite. We're getting a picture of a machine that's dressed up as a man, and slowly, his human form is decaying and being ripped away. And it's obviously really sort of scary, intense body horror as well. Like here, where he's cutting out his eye. Reminds me of The Fly, Cronenberg's The Fly. There we have the animatronic, obviously fake Arnold Schwarzenegger. But as I said, I think it's just so creepy that it works. It's just so obviously an inhuman thing. Bit by bit, his humanity is sort of decaying and falling off his body. His actual form is metallic endoskeleton.
I guess that's the typical point in a TV show. In certain TV shows, they have the clip show of the previous TV episodes from that series,
Yeah.
and I always hated those shows. I watched it in Home Improvement. They did a lot of those episodes, and I read online that was one of the actors saying that that's the point where the show has ran out of money, which is
Okay.
why they've done that episode. So I guess this was around the point when they filmed this scene where they've ran out of money
Oh,
for
yeah.
budget.
Yeah,
The fake
yeah,
scene
that's right. Yeah.
of the fake makeup.
Yeah, it's obviously continues on. But again, it's everything's mediated through technology. She's getting the conversation relayed through a television.
I always thought they were going to put the bulletproof vest onto Sarah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I love how he says, "I didn't build the fucking thing." That's such a great line.
It's just one of those things to just explain it away. Like,
Yeah, it is, but it's
it doesn't
also
matter.
yeah.
Fickle audience, it doesn't matter.
I kind of like that they didn't come up with a sort of pseudo explanation for that. He's just, he's just a grunt. He's just a soldier. He doesn't know all this stuff. He's just doing his mission, and yeah, it's good. It is an interesting conceit that the time machine will only take living human tissue. I mean, it allows them to create this monstrous cyborg to come through. But there's also a rationality to it. He's not going to be able to find his target if he looks like a machine. He has to blend into the world. He has to be an assassin. This is a stealth mission. It's not a combat mission. Again, we have the policeman applying rationality to everything. It's like, yeah, he saw these crazy things, but he could have been on drugs. He could have had a bulletproof vest. There are rational explanations to all these things. This is how we're going to handle it. Reese is crazy. And then it all just goes into an inferno when the Terminator shows up.
And as we learn in the second movie, he kills 19 officers.
Right, yeah. I think it's 17 at the police station, yeah.
17. He would always have to do this because how else would he bring in the guns?
That's right, yeah.
I doubt
I love how he sizes up.
Police security would just let him in with two guns.
Yeah, that's right. I like how he sizes up the dimensions of the police office to see if he can smash the truck through it. I'll be back, another famous line for the series that's constantly repeated. And one of those things that's just kind of entered pop culture. Another bit of trivia: in the original script, it was called "I'll Come Back," but they changed it in the production.
Oh, okay.
And on the set on the day of filming, there was an argument between Schwarzenegger and Cameron. Schwarzenegger wanted to say "I will be back" because he didn't think the cyborg would contract the sentence, but Cameron eventually got his way. Apparently, a very tense set. There was a lot of arguments between Cameron and the cast and the crew. He's not an easy guy to work with.
Sometimes just one word can make a huge difference.
That's right, yeah. Well, he knew what he was talking about.
That's a big thing with Gone with the Wind. They were weren't sure about using damn in the last line, one of the
Right.
last lines, and
Yeah.
they flirted with a few other possibilities, like frankly, I don't care,
Mm.
and eventually they had to pay a huge fine to actually get it into the movie.
Ah, that's good.
But it pays off because it's like
They stuck to their guns, and
one of the top quotes of all time.
that's like the highest grossing movie, adjusted for inflation, the highest grossing movie of all time. Often,
That's right.
often you get people actually misquoting movies because to something they prefer. Like Casablanca gets misquoted all the time when she says "play it again."
Oh yeah,
But
yep, I see what you mean.
so people will actually alter it to something better if they if they feel like it. So maybe it would always have been "I'll be back," even if Arnie had said "I will come back." I love the Terminator vision, where you get that red kind of information dump where he's looking through, because it's kind of, you have the predatory, you get this feeling of this kind of animalistic predatory vision, but it's combined with the clinical rationality of a computer where everything's kind of reduced to code and ones and zeros, and all these actions are based on what the computer tells him to do based on the situation. And apparently, according to this site, the code is actually taken from the Apple II operating system, and you can actually replicate the dump if you type a couple of commands into the Apple II computer. I also think it's kind of like you can see some of the DNA of the heads-up display in first-person shooting games, where he's walking through and you have his point of view as he holds the gun out, and you have the information around the outsides of the screen. You can see that in a lot of FPSs today. And this is the first time I've seen it in a movie.
I'm just looking in at this article online. It's totalfilm.com,
Right.
and it's the 20 most misquoted movie lines.
Oh yeah. What are some of the other ones? Actually, no. Let me just say I love this music. It's awesome.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, of course.
Sorry. Keep going.
So, yep, they do have Casablanca here.
Yeah.
Have The Empire Strikes Back. So instead of "Look, I am your father," it's "No, I am your father."
Right. Yeah. I like Luke. I am your father. Apparently, another factoid. Apparently, Schwarzenegger trained religiously with weapons. He would train for like every day of the month to prepare for the role, and to the point where he could strip and reassemble weapons blindfolded. And he spent hours at the shooting range practicing with different weapons, to the point where he wouldn't blink or look at the gun while he was reloading or cocking. And his goal was to make the motion seem like automatic, like a machine. And he was praised in a firearm magazine called Soldier of Fortune, which like often lampoons movies for their inaccurate depictions of weapon use, but they praised Arnie for like the sort of realism and the skill of his weapon handling abilities. So props to Arnie for that, for taking it seriously and being method about it, even if his acting.
That's a good deal of
sometimes-
methodism.
Yeah. I mean, this is the very beginning of his career. So he wasn't a star yet. He's trying to take everything as seriously as possible. I mean, he had done Conan and the documentary Pumping Iron, but I think
Hercules in New York.
This is what but this is what took him like a notch above that. Apparently, this mist that you're seeing in the background is bug spray. That the city was spraying bugs in that area because there was an infestation, and the crew wanted to wait until it was gone, but Cameron decided to use it as atmosphere, so hopefully it didn't poison the actors or anything. So yeah, it's the police are gone now. We're just left with these two characters. It's just
on their own.
Reese, T-800, and Sarah. It's just these three people that are on their own, left to the wilderness. And it's great because the world is normal. The world is as it is, but it's this war being fought in between a world that has no idea that it's being fought, that are completely indifferent to their struggle. but ultimately it's determining like the fate of humanity, and nobody knows about it because nobody would believe them if they told.
Well, they had a pretty good setup until Sarah says, "Oh, catch me in this number."
Right? Yeah, she tells her mother, but yeah, I always
But it
wondered,
had to
like,
happen, of course, to actually end the movie.
I always wondered how would the Terminator find them if she hadn't called her mother. But I mean, it makes sense. Like he's going through all the motions to figure out how to contact her, and that was one of them. Use her mother. Use any connection he can find to trace her back to him. Reminds me of No Country for Old Men, like when the guy escapes with the money, and I'm like, oh, he's home free. How could they possibly track him? But they cheat because they have a little electronic tracker in the money.
Hmm.
But yeah, the Terminator doesn't have that. It's cool. I would have liked to seen a bit more. We get a bit of him sort of using detective skills to track down Sarah, but it might have been cool to have a bit more of that. We're hearing a bit about Skynet. Have they mentioned it in the movie yet? I think this is the conversation where they start talking about. Yeah, no, we have. We heard about it in the interrogation unit. But Skynet's like a huge character of the series. He's basically the overarching enemy of the whole franchise, with John Connor being the kind of hero. But what's fascinating is that neither of these two characters are ever seen. I mean, you see fleeting shots of him in Terminator. Well, I'm saying Terminator 1 and 2. I guess you see him in Connor in 3 and 4, but in the first two, it's about his soldiers basically fighting on behalf of Connor and Skynet in the past. So yeah, it's cool. It's a cool dynamic.
I was going to say you had a good point about the fact that neither of those two characters exist if you think of Skynet as not existing until after this movie takes place. But I think that one of the deleted scenes you see Skynet, or maybe it was Cyberdyne, which was an abandoned warehouse.
Well,
or a
what do
company
you
that
mean?
made electronics.
What do you mean Skynet didn't exist? He wasn't conceived yet.
Yeah, but I was thinking that the company wasn't established
Oh
by
no
the
no
end of this
no
until after this movie was over.
no. Cyberdyne system exists. It exists at the moment. There is a deleted scenes where they track it down in a phone book and they decide to blow it up, and it's a really great scene because Sarah wants to track this place down and basically blow them up and avert the war, but Reese won't do it. He says that's not my mission. Like I can't account for what will happen if we change history. All I've got is my mission. I'm a soldier. I can't get involved with this kind of interdimensional predestinational paradoxes. But she wants to do it, and she gets really frustrated, and he chases her down and tackles her to the ground, pulls a gun on her, and she starts getting angry at him, and then he stops and looks around, and they're in the middle of a forest, and he starts like crying basically, and says, "I was never meant to be here. I was never meant to see this." Like, and he picks up a flower and says, "This is too beautiful. I was like, this whole place is gone. You don't understand, Sarah." And then they basically resolve to blow up Cyberdyne, and that's what you see. That's why they're making the pipe bombs in the hotel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but eventually they get diverted by Terminator. But
That explains it.
I'll talk a bit about Cyberdyne towards the end because they actually do. There is a deleted scene that shows Cyberdyne existing, and well, it's really fascinating. But yeah, so now we're getting some more flash forwards to the war between the machines and the humans. So they're going back into their bunker now after a hard day of machine killing.
Yep.
It's very grim, like this post-apocalyptic world. Like this is not a rag.
Feels futile.
This is not Star Wars. This isn't a ragtag bunch of kids fighting the Empire. This is the dregs of humanity. Humans reduced to basically animals, cowering in the shadows. It's really good. And the dogs checking to see whether they're humans.
I always wonder how they destroyed this Terminator.
Right, yeah, it seemed pretty. I mean, every flash forward we see is like it ends on a pretty hopeless note. Like, how's he going to get out of this one? But I think that's the point. The whole world is hopeless at this point. Um, so yeah, we hear a little bit about Skynet, and it's Reese explained that it was built for NORAD, which is the Cold War North American Aerospace Defense Command. So it's once again referencing this anxiety about the Cold War and nuclear war and things like that that was sort of heightening up in the 80s. And it was built by Cyberdyne Systems. And the Terminators that you see were originally designed during the early days of the war, and their purpose was to like carry out ground assaults and go into the human tunnels that the hunter killers couldn't reach. And eventually they added like rubber skin to, as Reese says, they added rubber skin to sort of try and camouflage themselves against human detection, because they're ultimately supposed to be assassins, but humans saw it so easily, and the rubber would melt off. So for the 800 series, Skynet developed living human tissues so that they could infiltrate the human bunkers. And one of the ways they detect them is dogs, as you're seeing now, the dog's barking at something, which is interesting. The idea that dogs could sense something that isn't human.
And that is useful for the the rest of the series, because they always go back to that when John has a pet dog in the second movie, and you hear him barking in the background.
That's right, yeah, Wolfie, yeah. And it's useful for us for when we encounter a Terminator and our dogs start barking at them. So we'll definitely need dogs in the future.
I'm just at the part where he goes through the series of responses he can give to his landlord.
Wait, what? Landlord?
Not his landlord, but maybe his neighbour. Even though he clearly doesn't live here.
Oh, wait. You're way off. I'm looking at Sarah's burning picture now.
Oh, okay.
She's cradled. She's being cradled in Reese's arms.
Despite the fact that I pause.
That's crazy. Why is it so off?
And I feel like we're back in sync. It always seems to run ahead of your DVD.
Yeah, maybe the Australian edition has scenes that weren't cut. So yeah, she's dreamed about dogs. Now it's cut to them walking up from the tunnel. They're walking. He's got the gun. It's all right. We can upload my recording because So yeah, they're still walking. There's mist everywhere. The bug spray that's poisoning. Now we're cut to Arnie. Yeah, we were way off there. That's crazy. So he's leafing through. Oh, that shot is so scary. Look him in the decaying skin. It's crazy. With the flies buzzing and like feeding off him. Apparently
I say landlord, but I just assume that he.
Yeah, it looks like a cleaner or a janitor or something. Yeah, that's right. I think it's a janitor because he's pushing a cart around. Or maybe it's a landlord. Apparently in the original script, the Terminator needed to periodically eat food to sustain his human flesh. So there's a scene of him in the script where he eats a candy bar wrapper and all. Okay, he's walking down the tunnel with a machine gun. Now we cut to Sarah and Reese. Tiki Motel. Are you caught up? Are we in the same place now? That's actually James Cameron's dog, Wolfie, who you see in the second movie.
Wow.
I think actually we see Sarah with a dog at the end of the movie, don't we? If that's the same dog, then I guess
it's the same dog.
I wonder if that's Wolfie that we see. Oh no, he'd be probably too old by then. Maybe like 10 years old. Unless if that dog's really young, if that dog's like 1 year old, and she picks up that dog from the Tiki Motel and then takes it with her to Mexico, that could be the same dog that John has in his backyard, like 10 years old. That'd be a cool little connection.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Possible.
Well, it's canon in
the dog is actually called Max.
Is it? No.
But that,
Oh
yeah,
no,
that's how it works
you're right.
in
That's the fake name they give. Right. Oh, I guess she doesn't say Wolfie here.
It's because so the dog
That's
is called Max. So
right.
it's one thing that the audience knows that the Terminator, the
Yep.
T-1000 doesn't know.
Yeah, I remember.
So Arnold phones, pretends to be John, and says, "How is Wilfie?" And the foster mother says, "Oh, Wilfie is fine." So that's how they know that the foster parents are dead, and the T-1000 is just infiltrating the foster parents.
That's right. Yeah. Also, sorry, I forgot to mention that it was The Outer Limits. Yeah, I kept saying The Twilight Zone, but it's The Outer Limits that Harlan Ellison wrote the episodes for. Apparently, I've got Arnie's faking her mother's voice at the moment, and apparently Arnold Schwarzenegger only has 16 lines in the entire movie, not including the times that he imitates other people.
16 lines.
16 lines, yep.
Wow.
So it's
I
a
was
lot of physical acting, a lot of just expressions and things like that.
I was thinking at the beginning of this commentary that he had something like 6 lines, but 16.
16, yeah. But yeah, considering how much screen time he gets, it's pretty amazing.
Oh, that reminds me of, have you watched Aladdin?
Yeah. Oh,
So in Aladdin, there is this point where Iago impersonates Jasmine, and
right, yeah.
I always thought that it was just the actress doing that line of Iago impersonating her. But I learned in a commentary that I listened to that it's actually the actor that impersonates the actress.
Ah, okay, cool. So yeah, as we're seeing them make the pipe bombs at the moment, and this is actually these bombs are being made for the intention to blow up Cyberdyne. Yeah, I recommend anyone who has I'll link to the deleted scenes on the internet because there is this subplot where they're planning to blow up Cyberdyne and avert the war and avert Skynet's creation. So yeah, it's a cool little bit, but obviously they're diverted by the Terminator and they use the bombs against him because that's the primary objective to keep Sarah alive. Blowing up Cyberdyne is purely secondary. Also, the revolver that he gives Sarah is actually from Lieutenant Traxler, I can't remember the actor's name, the African American lieutenant from the police station, and he gives it this deleted scene where he actually starts to believe he actually sees the Terminator take out the whole place, and he gets shot, and he's lying almost bleeding out on the ground. And as Reese and Sarah pass him, he stops them and hands Reese a revolver and says, "Protect her at all costs," because he realizes the truth that the Terminator is really from the future and Sarah needs to be protected. So there's all this carryover from the deleted scenes, which is cool to trace back.
Did you ever watch the Sarah Connor Chronicles?
I watched it like an episode every now and then when it was first on, like the first season, and I did really enjoy it. But I haven't got it on DVD or rented it on DVD and watched the whole series.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. I did watch, I think, the first episode, and that was it. But I remember there was this point where a few people went back in time and committed some crime, and they took DNA samples of the people,
yeah.
And then eventually they found like 7-year-olds. The DNA matched to a bunch of 7 or 8-year-olds, and that's one of those strange things that matched what you said.
Yeah, it wasn't like a cash grab or anything. It was a really thought out series. It was pretty well written and all that. I definitely put it above Terminator 4 and Terminator Salvation in terms of sort of writing quality. They went into really interesting time travel places and the way they sort of referenced the chess. I think it's called the Turk, which is this chess this machine that could play chess, basically, and that was sort of the conception of the Terminator. I don't know, consciousness or whatever. And there's lots of other elements. But yeah, it's been about 4 or 5 years since I watched the first season, so I can't remember. But I should definitely go and check it out because it did look good. I think I'm just like prejudiced against it because I just want Terminator 1 and 2 to be the only movies in the series, but that's alright.
That's like the Halloween series, where I would prefer if it was just the first movie and Halloween H2O were the only movies in the series.
Yeah, actually, I'm like that with Rocky as well. I only want Rocky 1 to 4 because Rocky 5 is just so bad. And Aliens as well. I only want Aliens 1 and 2. And Alien 3 is so annoying because it's just like the whole point of Aliens was to rescue the little girl and the guy that Michael Reese plays, and they die at the beginning of the movie. It's like, what? What was the point of the whole movie that preceded this? So yeah, that rubbed me the wrong way. So I only count 1 and 2 for the Alien series. Sometimes it's like quality. If a movie dips in quality, I don't want it to be part of the series. But sometimes it's like illogicalities, like Terminator 3 just like doesn't make any sense. I love this piece as well. I think it's called Love Theme. As I said, like, you know, the acting and some of the line readings are a little bit cheesy and you sort of cringe a little bit, but I think there is something really powerful like going on here. It may look like a B house, B movie, exploitation, bloody action movie, but it's like sort of toying around with these really interesting ideas about, you know, predestination, what it means to be human in this world, and our sort of merging dependency on technology and what it means to be human, I guess. If you strip away all the biological parts. Like Reese, just a couple of minutes ago, when he says, "So your pain is fine. All you need to do is disconnect." You can see him wanting to be like the Terminator, to idealize the way a Terminator handles the world. This mechanical, clinical efficiency where there is no weakness, there is no pain. Things like love and empathy that Sarah shows are what makes humans weak, but at the same time, it's also what makes us, separates us from machines and what kind of gives us strength in a way. Is the dog barking away?
But she does have this massive dog at the end of the movie. I'm not sure if it's the same one.
Oh, okay. Sure. It's just that they were the same. They're both German Shepherds, so I thought maybe.
Directors and movie people are always obsessed with having their pets or children appear in movies.
Yeah, well, pets I'm okay with, but children are not good because children are terrible actors for the most part. Like that was another one of my problems with Terminator 2. You know, I don't want to be mean, but what's his name? The actor that played John Connor was pretty bad. It's kind of cringeworthy at times to watch that.
Oh, in the second movie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of it.
Edward Furlong.
Edward Furlong, that's right. Yeah, just felt kind of awkward. Easy money. So yeah, there's a different kind of chase scene where the Terminator is actually chasing them from behind, weaving through traffic and stuff. And you can see just a bit of inside movie production. You can see a white flash every time he chucks a pipe bomb, and that is to conceal the detonations of the sort of pyrotechnics that are paved across the surface of the road. So they have little pyrotechnic explosive with a pressure pad that once Arnold Schwarzenegger's motorbike crosses over them, they'll detonate, they'll puff out smoke. So all Reese is doing is just throwing a pipe onto the road, and then they'll have that white flash, and then they'll have the explosion. So it sort of connects the two parts in the audience's mind through sort of clever editing. Now you can see Sarah's having to sort of take charge towards the end of the movie. Reese is falling apart. He's been shot. He's barely conscious. So she's taking the wheel metaphorically and literally, because that's kind of her journey. She's having to take on this role that she doesn't necessarily want to take on, but she has to because it's her destiny. And it's this role of like a soldier, like a freedom fighter.
And it's important to survive.
Yeah. And the truck gets its revenge.
Yep, that's right.
Sorry, what is it?
I guess it's similar to Halloween H2O, where Jamie Lee Curtis starts off as meek and shy person, and then eventually she's saved by Donald Pleasance in Halloween, but in Halloween H2O it's just her, and she has to be the protector for her son.
Okay. Yeah, I've only seen Halloween 1. I haven't seen the rest of the series. I heard it gets progressively downhill.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like the pioneering, like the staple for horror movies that the first one is, and then all of these movies like Friday the 13th are made because of the success of Halloween, and then it just deteriorates into Halloween 6, the Curse of Michael Myers.
Well, it's just a money-making exercise after that. They get less and less money to work with, less talented people that want to work on it, and all they're doing is trying to trade a bit of money off the good name of the original. Yeah, I can't think of any movies that have sustained that quality, apart from maybe Harry Potter, through more than like 2 or 3 movies. Like Aliens, Terminator, they've all kind of gone downhill after the second or third one. Or the second one, usually. I mean, I love Rocky, but it gets progressively worse after the second one. Oh, look at his face, is just so creepy. You can just see the machine beneath just pushing out. It's really cool. Now this explosion, Orion Pictures, who produced the picture, originally wanted this to be the end of the movie. The truck would explode and kill the Terminator. But Cameron argued against it and got his way because he wanted a real climax. But well, there it is, the explosion. I love how they'll have like 3 takes to get their money's worth for whenever they have an explosion. It's like movies from the 80s and the 90s. Now that's definitely not CGI. That's a real explosion. I think you can tell the difference. This was actually a miniature. This explosion, miniature truck that they detonated, and it actually took 2 takes to get. Because the cable that was pulling the truck along like broke, sort of ripped the bumper off from the first time and ruined the shot, so they had to do it again. And then you have the silhouette of the Terminator moving through the flames. It's great. It's like a hellscape or something. And he collapses and just roasts in the fire. I love the scene, the shot coming up where they, Kyle and Sarah embrace, and you see the metal endoskeleton just rise out of the fires like a demon or something. It's great. It's like a William Blake painting or something.
That's what reminds me of a slasher horror film. That scene where you think the nemesis is gone or destroyed or killed, but then they just always rise up.
Definitely, yeah. You see that in Halloween. Yeah, he keeps getting up. He won't stay dead. But I think in a lot of those movies, it sort of doesn't really make sense, like why they would still be alive. It just seems like they're supernatural beings or something. But here, I think it works because he is slowly being chipped away at and chipped away at. Like his human form is decaying, but the metal endoskeleton underneath finally emerges triumphant from the fire.
And you can see that
Such an effective
he is
shot.
moving. Yep, you can see that he's moving slowly as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it is taking a toll on him. It's not like he's some magical being that just can't be killed. He is slowly being chipped away at, but he's just such a powerful entity. This stop motion is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. It's so disjointed and like weird. I love it. It's so much scarier than CGI could ever be. It's so inhuman in its movements, like juddering across the screen. Who's that famous stop motion guy who did Jason and the Argonauts? Harryhausen. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah, he does really cool stop motion as well. If anyone's interested in seeing some more of that. Yeah. So yeah, now Sarah's having to drag Reese along. So at the beginning of the movie, she was the vulnerable one, the one to be protected, and sort of hysterical woman who needed to be dragged along. But now she's the kind of one with agency, the one that needs to take charge.
She becomes more of the character. Yep. Well, I mean, in this scene, it feels like she becomes a character from the second movie.
That's right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And it's a total personality shift.
Definitely. Yeah, you do see that character transformation. And it does feel really organic. Yeah, I'd love to do a commentary on the second movie as well. As I say, I think this is my favorite, but I still love the second movie. I think it's a great continuation of the story. Oh, it's so creepy the way he moves. It's so cool. And his red glowing eyes. God. It's just all our fears about technology given like material form, just personified. And this is actually, going back to the deleted scenes I was talking about, this is actually this is the Cyberdyne headquarters. You don't see it, but
oh yes,
this is the place they were originally intending to go to, and they got attacked and sort of dragged to the ground by the Terminator. But they sort of fled into the Cyberdyne Systems building. You don't see it until the deleted scenes. And as they're being wheeled out of the building, you see the camera like pans up and you see Cyberdyne Systems. So definitely check out the deleted scenes. It's cool though. It's kind of like the whole Cyberdyne system blowing up the Cyberdyne Systems things is contained in the deleted scenes. So it's there if you want it, but it's not really it's not really sort of vital to the story they're trying to tell. They don't really bring it up until the sequel. But I do love the idea that both in this conflict between the Terminator and Reese, they each sort of conceive or rather, John Connor and Skynet, by sending back a sort of agent on behalf of their war, they each sort of conceive themselves. So by sending back Reese, John Connor is conceiving himself. He's impregnating his mother. It's kind of weird if you think about it. I don't know whether he knew about it or whether it's like a predetermined sort of course of the universe. But also, Skynet is conceiving of himself by sending back Terminator to kill them. He provides the kind of cybernetic DNA that forms the basis of his consciousness, because they find the arm left over and they take it back to Cyberdyne Systems and they do research on it, and well, Robo's left, and they and that's the basis for their future research. And Dyson says, there's things we would have never thought of. So it's cool, sort of parallel between the two characters, how they created each other.
That is a good analogy. I was just, as you were talking about that, I just had that conclusion as well, that they both, the Terminator was sent back, which helped the Skynet's evolvement and the machine's evolvement, and then also the Kyle Reese is sent back, and that helps conception of John Connor. So it's a strange paradox of the two resistances.
It seems to be a paradox that like always had to be. Like it was already pre-programmed by the universe that it would happen this way. Which probably takes away a bit of the tension of the movie, knowing that it had to turn out this way, that the Terminator will be destroyed.
Yep, there's nothing we can do. It's going to happen anyway.
But that's alright, it's still a good movie. But it does raise a lot of questions about predestination and like, can you even avert your fate? Is that even possible? I don't know. But it also, the other thing it raises is by, now we're going way into through the looking glass, but by sending back an assassin to kill John Connor, Skynet inadvertently forced circumstances that would impregnate John Connor's mother. And by the same token, by sending back someone to protect Sarah and defeat the Terminator, John has inadvertently created a situation that would conceive of his nemesis. And the killer gets up one final time. Oh, that's cool. He's dragging himself along. It's pretty bold to have Reese killed. Like, you wouldn't really expect that in a blockbuster movie like Terminator 2, but yeah. The stakes are definitely real for this movie.
I guess it gives that extra suspense.
And
now Sarah is on her own, and she'll need to deal with the Terminator.
Yeah, and going back to the slasher analogy, there's always a last girl. There's always one girl left over for the killer to torment, and she's they're both on their last legs, kind of dragging, sort of crawling away from each other. And I love the sort of poetry that this grand war that is fought in the future between these two races, the man and the machine, this just covers decades and decades, is ultimately culminates in this final battle between these two, a woman and a cyborg, a half-destroyed cyborg limping through the kind of this factory floor. It's cool. Creepy Shining music again. Attention. Hit the button.
So
the ultimate, it'd be hilarious if it was like the zombies in Song of Ice and Fire, where their hand dropped off and started scuttling after her or something.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh yeah, that's at that scene, in the deleted scene, it's more of a continuation. So you see most of the scene, except there's a camera uplift, and it goes to the name of the building, and it's Cyberdyne.
Right. Are you watching that now, or did you just remember that?
So I'm just watching the desert scene where Sarah goes to the petrol station.
Oh, how are you so far ahead of me?
So strange.
That is so
I'll pause
bizarre.
again.
There must be scenes that I'm not getting or something. Let me see. So I'm watching them being put on hospital beds and wheeled away, and you see Reese zipped up in a bag, which is a pretty scary shot. But yeah, there is a deleted scene that isn't particularly well acted, so I'm not surprised they took it out of the movie, but it features two men finding the arm and picking it up and saying, oh, this looks like some Japanese technology we've never seen before. Maybe take it down to R&D in Monday morning. So it's pretty cheesy, so I can see why they took it out. But I would have liked that. I do like the pan up from the hospital, from the ambulance, to see the Cyberdyne Systems logo. It's a cool little last piece of the puzzle. Okay, now they're driving through the desert. And you got a little German Shepherd in the back. Chickens. So this is a nice.
This is a strange.
Sorry, it's a nice connection to the next movie because she develops friends and allies in the Mexican desert.
Oh yeah, of course.
So it's definitely a cohesive story, like part one and part two. And as I was saying in the early in the movie, the city scenes are so dark and oppressive, and the buildings are just kind of imposing over everyone, and it's just all saturated with technology. So I think this retreat to the desert is very much getting away from that, getting into a big open sunlit space where technology isn't everywhere. As he's trying to do what we're doing, which is unpack the time paradoxes. There's no way to figure out the answer. There's actually this the time paradox presented in this movie actually has a name within physics or physicist studies. It's called the Connor paradox, and it's the idea
Common
that
paradox.
the Connor paradox, like John
Oh,
Connor,
okay.
and it's the idea that there is no way it's impossible to create a time paradox. It's impossible to change the past because everything's predetermined. Everything that might happen has already happened. Like your decisions are already factored into the universe's construct. Everything is predetermined. It's like written in a book.
I thought it was called the grandfather paradox
Um,
because it's based around going back in time,
well,
shooting
yeah,
your
it's
grandfather.
starting with that basis, but it's sort of trying to explain the grandfather paradox, the logic of it, by saying it doesn't matter that you went back in time. That's actually part of history. That you would go.
Okay.
The universe has already taken into account the fact that you would go back in time and do this. There's a logic to it. The chickens are running. Sorry. And that last little piece of puzzle was the photo, which is a great coda to the film. It's so beautifully constructed. Not the most subtle line to end on. There's a storm coming, but I think it works. And then she drives off into the storm to face the inevitable apocalypse. Awesome.
Acknowledging the works of Harlan Ellison.
Not yet. Hang on. It's coming. That's weird that we would... There it is. Yeah, it's weird that we would be so off sync because we started like within a second of each other. So that's... Cool. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, that was good.
Was there any other points you thought of that you wanted to add? Sorry, a little factoid for the end. The smoke, not the pre-production or post-production factoid. The smoke that you see come out of the Terminator's eye as it's crushed is actually a cigarette that
Oh, okay.
that Cameron literally just pushed into the prop at the last second just before they filmed it because he wanted to add that effect. So it's just sort of one of those spur of the moment decisions. So some production decisions take, weeks and weeks of storyboarding, and others are just put in at the last second. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just trying to look through IMDb right now, the IMDb profile for the Terminator, to see if there was any other interesting facts about it or trivia facts.
Yeah. There was one thing I wanted to say, which was that Cameron conceived of the idea of the movie when he was on holiday in Europe, and he had a dream, or basically a nightmare, of that shot you see of the metal endoskeleton emerging from flames. Like he just saw that in a dream or something, or he had a vision of it, and he basically wrote a script like moving backwards from that point, and also the sense of remoteness he felt while he was sort of holidaying in Europe, living in a foreign land. So I think it's translated a little bit into Reese's feelings of isolation and being a man out of time and place. He also had the idea of sending two Terminators at once. Skynet would send two Terminators the same way John Connor would send two soldiers. One would be the cyborg that we see in this movie, and the other would be a being consisting of liquid metal and have the ability to shapeshift. And Cameron realized that pretty early that this effect would be impossible to pull off. But after he did The Abyss, he realized you could produce realistic computer-generated special effects. So he revived the idea for the sequel, Terminator 2. But, what's your take on the the CGI versus practical effects. I think in a way, practical effects, like the stuff we're seeing in this movie, kind of hold up better than a lot of the infinitely more expensive CGI, especially early
They
CGI.
do.
The stuff we see in like the early the sort of prequel Star Wars movies or the like Jumanji stuff.
But
like they look so obviously animated.
Yep, some of the effects from Terminator 2 are impressive.
Yeah, the liquid guy still looks pretty cool. But I'm thinking more like other movies from the 90s that use CGI that just look so fake and animated, as opposed to, things like Star Wars and the original Terminator, which use practical effects. And, they date a little bit, but I think there's like a tangible quality to them that still looks real. And as I said, the stop motion Terminator still looks way more terrifying to me than a 3D, the CGI version. So yeah, I'll definitely link to the deleted scenes that we mentioned. So
that's a good idea.
Unpack the little Cyberdyne Systems subplot, which obviously carries over into Terminator 2.
That's true, and that's a big plot element of Terminator 2.
Yeah. So this film, sort of ending now, but the last thing I'll say is this film was really like a huge surprise at the box office. It was originally conceived as or at least the studio conceived it as this low budget exploitation flick to make like a small buck or two, but it opened to surprisingly huge numbers, and critics were caught off guard like by the sort of complexity of the plot and the character relationships, and just lathered praise on this movie. And it featured on the top 100 villains and heroes list that the American Film Institute created. Actually listed Arnold Schwarzenegger was the first person to be listed in both categories, heroes and villain, for Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. And the line, I'll be back, was rated like 37 on the 100 greatest movie quotes. And it's still the only film, well, not the only film, but one of the few films to receive a 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So definitely the definition of a sleeper hit.
And I imagine that the rentals and video sales must have been huge for this movie, because the second movie that had a huge budget, I think that's close to maybe around 100 million was the budget for the second movie.
I think it was like record breaking, like $200 million, which is, even by today's standards, it's a huge amount of money. So yeah, it had that cult status and that really widespread love and critical love.
It had to have sold a lot of videos to get that type of budget.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what the state of VHS is. I guess it was more rental videos, because VHSs were really expensive back then. They were like $100 for a VHS. So they probably gained a lot of popularity from rentals, and because that was kind of when the home video market was opening up in the mid 80s. So that was probably one of those films that people seized on. It's amazing to think that people couldn't watch a movie whenever they wanted to back, in the early 80s and before. Like the only time they could watch a movie was to go to the cinemas, because like whenever it was playing, so they would actually
that's insane.
Play old movies from once a year or something. Like they would play Gone with the Wind every year, so people could go and watch it. It's crazy. But yeah, I think that's all the stuff I wanted to talk about.
That's all I wanted to say too.
Yeah, awesome. I think that was a pretty thorough discussion of the movie. So hopefully people actually watch it, listen to it while they're watching the movie, rather than just listen to it as a podcast, because I think it works better with the context of the movie. But definitely watch the movie first if you haven't watched it, before you watch it a second time, because yeah, it's an awesome movie. Definitely one of my favorites. How do you sort of rank it? Which Terminator do you like, one or two better? Because most people seem to like the second one.
Oh, right. The Terminator. I prefer the Terminator.
You prefer the original as well?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I like it as well. Much leaner, darker film. But yeah, maybe in the future we could do a commentary for the second one if you're up for it, or anyone who's listening who feels like doing that.
Yep, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks for coming on with me. Whatever time it is in the morning in Scotland. You live in Scotland? Yeah, Glasgow, yeah.
That's right, Scotland. It's 11:21.
Okay, that's not too bad. Before we go, any sort of things you want to plug? Any upcoming podcasts or anything?
I guess there's just the final Peace for Crows / Dance with Dragons discussion. That's
yeah, that'll be exciting.
I think in a few weeks' time.
Awesome. Yeah, haven't sort of put a date down or?
Not yet. No.
Okay, we'll decide. Well, yeah, we'll figure that out. Probably like mid-December or something. Yeah, cool. And you've got the other audio commentary for the Christmas movies?
Yeah, I'm thinking sometime around the 20th of December for that one.
Oh, cool. Sounds awesome.
And that'll be a Christmas story.
Yeah. Oh, Christmas story. Okay, yeah. Well, that could be your Christmas present to the House Man Woody listeners. I should probably give a plug to Osmoot, which is happening next Friday, 29th of November. So if anyone who's listening who lives in Melbourne or within driving distance of Melbourne in Victoria, in Australia, there'll be a gathering of the Vassals of Kingsgrave. We haven't decided on a location, but check out the Osmoot thread on the forums if you want to come along. I think at the moment it's just 4 people. Me, Jessica, Marius, and Bina 007, who's flying in from Britain just for this occasion. No, she's on holiday. She's following the British cricket team all around Australia, but she'll be in Melbourne that time. So we thought we'd have a gathering. So if you're near Melbourne at that time, definitely check out the thread so you can find out where we're meeting. Trying to think of any other podcasts. Yeah, we've got the Feast Dance coming up, so that'll be fun. I think there's a Flight of Sorrows discussion, possibly fermenting once everyone's finished the book.
Did you say you would do that?
I mean, I've got the book. I'm sort of reading. I'm making my way through.
Oh, okay.
But I said, yeah, I'm happy to go on when that meeting posted the thread on the forums. So yeah, thanks for coming on with me. It's been really enjoyable. I loved watching the movie again.
You're welcome.
All right. I'll see you later then, man.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.